Hi, and welcome back to the Industry Experts series on PCB data management. My name is John Watson. In this episode, we're going to be looking at how you make sure that PCB design data is both accessible and secure. I'm a grandfather of 4 grandchildren, and one of the great joys that I have is playing with them, and it's always a great time. But one of their favorite things to do is always to go to the park, and one of their favorite things at the park is the teeter-totter. Well, it's all fun and games until Grandpa gets on one side and they try to lift me. And then they get a horrible lesson on balance, leverage, and exactly how heavy Grandpa really is. Well, PCB design is about balance. It's about symmetry. If you look at a typical layer stack up, what is the key to that? It's about symmetry. It's about the solder side being in symmetry with the component side. If you look at IPC 2221, it gives us a trade-off chart in table 3.1 that gives us trade-offs for our PCB design. It's an excellent example of a compromise on our PCB design. If you do with increase of one thing, it has an effect on other things. That's the case with our PCB data management also. With an increase of security, it reduces the availability and access. So there has to be a balance that we have to find with this. There has to be a balance that we're actually operating within. So looking at security issues, and we've then been looking at availability, you can have the best secured system in the world, but yet your availability will be very low, and vice versa. So what is a data security access system then, and how important is it? Well, data security access is defined as the process of identifying, tracking, controlling, and managing authorized and specified users' access to a system or application. Security is an ever-increasing problem with companies. More and more companies are needing to have their proprietary information secured and to where it's only available to certain individuals. Many times this is an afterthought. It's something we don't think about until there's a problem that arises. And then all of a sudden it becomes what? The emergency. Well, a famous quote from Abraham Lincoln was, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." We're many times are attempting to develop a PCB design with a dull axe. Yet we're trying to do this without a system and a balanced system. So we saw when we were talking about how do we set up our data management system in a previous episode, we actually saw that one of the second pillars was what? Managed. That your PCB design process has to be managed. And that managed area answers some questions for us. Number one is, who can have access to this data system? That's done by your roles. How can they access it? And then what are they able to do once they are in? There are 2 security systems that I think you ought to take up and consider when we're working with PCB data management. There is the typical role-based access system, which is an RBAS. This identifies very specific roles and responsibilities. That then drives the available access based on those roles. Now, what I found difficult with this kind of system is that it's very difficult sometimes to identify the specific roles that are used in the PCB design process and who those individuals will be. Many times with the roles, of course, we cross work that we do in one role versus another. And many times limiting individuals to strictly working in a single role is sometimes very difficult. So I've actually seen where a better system is where it's not based on roles, but it's based on levels. A level-based access system, an LBAS, is a better access system overall, I think. That way an individual is given a certain level with their access and their abilities. Now, I was in the military. I was actually in the Army. I worked in the military intelligence field, and everyone there had a security level. So mine personally was a top secret level. Well, with that level, I was given certain various access to information. And the advantages of that was that it was simply by increasing my level and my security level, then I then had access to new information. So you want to look at your access information as being either a role-based or a level-based. The last question that we saw in the managed area was what? Who was allowed in, what access they were allowed, then what those roles would cover, and then that permission determined what could be done. The operation permissions then are saying if an individual has a certain security level, they could then do certain tasks. And we basically, by controlling then a person's role, level, and their operation permissions, you're actually able then to have a very secure system of who, what, and what they can, when they can get in. And I hope this has been helpful for you. And I want you to, some of the key takeaways is to understand that security is going to become more and more important in the future. I want to conclude by telling you a story. There was actually a casino in Vegas that was actually broken into, and they actually robbed millions of dollars from this casino. And what happened was, as their information was compromised, was that it found out that the robbers actually went through a fish tank that was a wireless fish tank, controlled IoT fish tank, and they actually went through that to get to information. More and more importantly, in the future, security is going to become more and more vital. I would encourage you to share this episode. If it's been helpful for you, please share it. But also give us your comments on this link down below and tell us what you think, what you want to hear. Give us your questions that in the future episodes, we actually want to take up some of your questions. In the next episode, we're actually going to look at how can you change your operational processes to improve your data management system. I hope this has been helpful for you, and we look forward to hearing from you. My name is John Watson.